that time where every single cartoon, show, movie, any medium of entertainment had the dumbest character alive? Everywhere I looked, I couldn't escape the lack of brain cells. And it was so much so that it made me realize that the dumb character trope is dumb. And obviously me saying that sounds dumb because of course the dumb character trope is dumb. That's the point. But let me explain. When I say the dumb character trope is dumb, I'm mainly speaking on how the trope kind of lost its art. I mean, we've seen so many dumb characters come to life in so many different shows. There have also been a lot, and I mean a lot, of lows with characters being simply one-dimensional or not funny at all. And being funny is a very big part of the dumb character trope. This tradition dates all the way back to medieval times. First reliable recording of a jester would be Yo Shu of 7th century BCE China, in which he would show that the job of the jester was to entertain. A big emphasis on the entertain, whether that means being viewed as a mockery or landing clever jokes. I mean, just looking at early jester by the name of Jin Xian Moa, for example, where he was chased by a dog, and as a little jokey joke, he told the Chinese emperor not to let his children go around biting folks. And the emperor did not like that joke one bit, so he shot an arrow at his head. But instead of begging for his life, he cracked another joke, and the emperor enjoyed that. And this would lead to a long history of funny and quick-witted people and would keep jester-like characters in relevance for hundreds of years, leading us to multiple ways people consume comedy, leading us to today in modern times where storytellers have taken the approach of the dumb, quick-witted humor usually made to make fun of jesters to place as a character traits on some of our favorite characters we see today, transitioning us into the golden age. For me personally, the golden age of dumb characters went on from about 1999 to 2009 and introduced us to numerous fun, dumb, witty characters. And I feel like the main man that really captured what a dumb character was supposed to be was a man by the name of Patrick Star. And the writers of SpongeBob really had the perfect way of making Patrick lovable. And you may be asking how that could be the case if I've been telling you how stupid this dumb character trope is. Well, the writers did this through actually giving him character traits, man. And yes, I know the main thing was that he was dumb. I mean, he literally lived under a rock. That's the joke. But the character trait of him being a loyal friend added so much more to Patrick's character that it made the viewer like him despite his naivety towards the world. And we even see writers with the other dumb characters like Richard Watterson, Clarence, Cosmo, or Billy. But there's actually one more reason that makes these characters actually way more useful than the main character at times. And that's because they are called plot drivers. What is a plot driver? Well, I'm glad you asked. A plot driver is a character that simply drives or moves the plot. Now you may be asking, how can an imbecile like Patrick Star be important and help drive the plot? Well, let's look at one of SpongeBob's first episodes, Suds, where SpongeBob gets up for a late night snack, but he is so sleepy that he ends up leaving the refrigerator door open, which then leads to the conflict of the episode where the house gets so cold that SpongeBob gets a case of the Suds, where he pretty much gets sick. Now the writers have to find a way to continue this story or conflict. Now they could easily have SpongeBob continue on with his day and having the Suds and dealing with the conflicts of that, but you don't become one of the greatest cartoons of all time with basic story. They needed to go bigger and better, and so they have SpongeBob ask Patrick for help. And this is small, but genius. They use Patrick's character trait of always being a good, available friend to make sure he can help SpongeBob in every way he can think of. But they also use his stupidity to drive the plot and increase the conflict because Patrick does nothing but make things worse. But remember, you can't be mad at him because he's just trying to help his friend. Another example is the Splinter episode, where in the same formula, SpongeBob gets that disgusting Splinter, Squidward being the antagonist for the episode, wants SpongeBob to leave work. SpongeBob doesn't want to do this, and so he calls the man that he knows will always be available and reliable to help, Patrick. But once again, you can't be mad at him because he's just there to do his best to help his friend. And we see this with almost every iconic dumb character you can think of. Yes, they are dumb and they usually add to the conflict in some way, shape, or form, but you can't be mad when they are also adding funny humor and good-hearted character traits. But this is only the good part of dumb characters. Remember, this is still a video about how dumb characters are ruining television. And so now we have to jump to chapter 3, the end of the golden era. Now remember when I said the golden era of dumb characters ended around 2009? Well, that was because this was around the time Fanboy and Chum Chum aired on Nickelodeon. Even as a kid, I saw the writing on the wall, man. I knew our favorite dumb characters were a thing of the past. This was one of them shows where they was just dumb just to be dumb. There was no real stories or character traits. They were just stupid, and it unfortunately opened the floodgates for these writers of these shows to, for some reason, think that the audience just wants to be fed garbage. Not too long after the tragedy that was Fanboy and Chum Chum, we were introduced to a show by the name of The Problem Solvers, where it tried to use that silly, dumb humor applied to all of its characters, and well, it just went terribly wrong. Everything from the theme to the artwork to the jokes to the stories. This show was just butt, bro. The show makes my head hurt. The jokes are disgustingly bad. It's one of the worst pieces of animation I've ever seen. These aren't even my opinions. I'm just reading the Google reviews. It's not like this is some phenomenon and we'll never see a cartoon this bad ever again. No, man. Later this same year, we were granted with a show by the name of Secret Mountain for Awesome. And I'm just going to describe the character designs to you. A pimple ball with hairy legs, a purple monster thingy, a blue monster thingy, a butt cheek, and the average Ohio citizen. And not only this show, but this whole era of these garbage writers was a disaster for animation, man. And somehow, someway, it gets worse. And that's because we even saw some of our favorite characters from before dilute into these one-dimensional characters with no other contribution to society but being stupid. Let's go back to Patrick, for example. Anyone who has watched the show constantly has seen an act called Flanderization happen. Flanderization is the progressive exaggeration of a single trait or set of traits of a fictional character until it overtakes all other characterization. Pretty much saying, you're gonna have one trait, buddy. So Patrick went from the humorous, lovable friend that we know we can count on to be there to just being dumb. And we see this with other iconic dumb characters like Peter and Homer, for example. The two dumb dads that ruled over animation at one point were flanderized to a point where the characters were no longer enjoyable to watch. But why do these dumb characters have this same problem of having stupidity be their only trait? Well, if you look at each of these shows, they all have one major thing in common. These shows have all been running for decades. So when you're having years of change, whether it's in the business side of things, in the front office, writers' rooms, whatever the case may be, it's going to directly correlate to the stories and characters of these shows. A lot of the time, they can never really replicate the original traits of these characters, leaving them a former shell of themselves. Especially when looking at the dumb dad trope as a whole and how common it is, there is no doubt they can become flanderized at some point. But there is no fictional dumb character that can ever compare to Jerry. Now, Jerry isn't the typical dumb dad stereotype. He's worse. He has never been likable. When you laugh, it wasn't with him, it was at him. And every quality about this man makes me despise him. Jerry's one of the worst excuses for a father in animation. He's not like a comically super dumb character like Richard, Homer, or Peter, to where a lot of his actions are excused, but he lacks so much that makes him even close to likable. Whether it be his insecurities, always whining and playing victim, he shows no real respectable qualities in the character. And the show writers will even point this out. I mean, look at season 3, episode 5. We see Rick blatantly call out Jerry's character being a victim, hoping people feel bad for him. And as much as I hate to say it, this is some really good character writing, especially when it comes to a dumb character, because although every character in this show has some unlikable thing about them, the writers make sure that Jerry is the standout dumb comic relief character. But they also make sure that although mostly negative, he has some interesting character traits that make me want to invest in his character more. Like, bro really got a whole dedicated part of the video just for me to show how a good dumb character is made through multiple character traits. And that kind of goes for every trope in all of stories. Memorable character traits are the key to a good character. But you let me know your thoughts on the dumb character trait. Did it really ruin animation, or am I dragging it? Anyways, thank you guys for all the support. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and stay blessed.